this is an interesting twist. Trump says it wasn't him who tried to overturn the election, even though they have him on tape doing just that. It was them.
I want to talk about 2020 because you said over and over again that you were robbed in 2020.
Yeah, totally.
How do you think you were robbed? Everybody always cuts you off. I'm going to allow.
Well, they not only cut you off. Well, what I'd rather do is we'll do it another time, and I would bring in papers that you would not believe. So many different papers. That election was so crooked. It was the most crooked election.
Okay, but give me some examples of how.
Well, let's start on the top and the easy ones.
Okay.
They were supposed to get legislative approval to do the things they did, and they didn't get it. In many cases, they didn't get it.
What things?
Anything.
Legislative approval
like
of...
for extensions of the voting, for voting earlier, for this, for all different things. By law, they had to get legislative approvals. You don't have to go any further than that. If you take a look at Wisconsin, they virtually admitted that the election was rigged, robbed, and stolen.
The old he who smelt it dealt it defense.
They wouldn't give access in certain areas to the ballots because the ballots weren't signed. They weren't originals. We could go into this stuff. We could go into the ballots, or we could go into the overall. I'll give you another one.
Are you going to present this ever? Do you think like?
Let me just give you one more
go
before. 51 intelligence agents come up that the laptop was from Russia. It turned out to be totally false.
51 former intelligence agents, right?
They say that made. I don't believe it's this much, but it doesn't have to. I lost by I didn't lose, but they say I lost, Joe. They say I lost by 22,000 votes. That's like 1/10 of 1%, less than that. It's a tiny little thing. 22,000 votes spread over this period. So 51 intelligence agents lied. They lied. They lied. They knew it was. It was Hunter's. It was from his bed. It was Hunter's laptop. They said it was created by Russia.
He's actually right about some of that. He didn't rig the election. He tried to rig the election and failed to rig the election. He's a rignoramus is what he is. So I wonder why that is. Why would the Democrats have cheated and stolen the presidency but given up the Senate and House seats on the same ballot? Is it like when you cheat on a test, you purposely get a few wrong just to throw the teacher off the scent? Are we supposed to believe there's a universe in which Nancy Pelosi could have sent Mitch McConnell back to the exotic pet store he came from and she chose not to? Some Trump supporters took to Twitter to write things like, if you don't include California, Donald Trump won the popular vote. You're right. And if you don't count the murders, Ted Bundy was a pretty good dude, you know?
There's literally zero, and I'm saying this to certain Congress people in the state, zero evidence of machines flipping votes. And that claim was a lie through 2020, and it's a lie now. Well, there's been several claims that there are reports of machines flipping votes, and that's really just not the case. The reality is, especially in this one case we heard from Whitfield County, Georgia, there was a senior citizen voter who printed her ballot and said, this isn't who I chose, and they followed the procedure. They went to the poll manager. They said, let's go over here and we'll spoil this ballot. We'll let you vote again. She was able to do it. A poll watcher came to her and said, were you satisfied with this outcome? She said, yes, absolutely. She told a couple people that story. It turned into a post, and then it was picked up by other people and said, machines are flipping votes, which is nobody claimed that actually happened.
A comment from Georgia Secretary of State Raffensperger Sunday got a lot of pickup in Republican circles. I want to play that.
All early votes and all early accepted ballots, they all will have to have their results reported by 8 p.m. That's 70, maybe even 75% of all the vote totals will be reported no later than 8 p.m. on election night.
Won't take 7 days to tabulate votes, as he said?
Absolutely not. What we will be waiting for is the overseas ballots that come in no later than Friday, and so those will then be the final numbers. And we'll just see if that makes the difference in the total vote totals.
So Republican Senator Mike Lee of Utah is one of the elected officials not exactly helping your cause. He shared a post that inaccurately claimed that Raffensperger said that the results would not be ready for 3 days. That's not what he said. This is someone he's been reelected twice, Mr. Raffensperger. He knows how the process works.
Well, Senator Lee is just spreading misinformation, disinformation. I can't say it any other way. I don't know if he doesn't understand the situation or not. The question that was asked is, when will results be out there? And the Secretary was absolutely correct. By 8 p.m. or 1 hour after polls close, early votes and absentee votes have been processed, which would be probably 75% of our votes if our record turnout keeps on going, will be up on the election night reporting system by 8 o'clock. Then through the rest of the evening, by midnight, we will know absolutely how many people have voted on Election Day. It is also true that federal law says we protect our military and overseas voters. If their ballots are postmarked by Tuesday, Election Day, they are accepted through Friday of that week. That is the law. And to try to say that we're extending the time is simply a lie. And it's undermining people's faith yet again. I think it was really irresponsible for Senator Lee to do that.
CNN's Sean Lingus has some stunning reporting about Microsoft, which says hackers allied with the governor of Iran have researched election-related websites in multiple U.S. swing states. So far, no actual hacks, but they have been poking around, these hackers. Do you know if this is happening in Georgia? What safeguards do you have to combat any kind of nefarious cyber attack?
I'm not familiar with any specific instances of Iranians doing anything like that, but we have multiple layers of security around several systems. And there's a misunderstanding that is one of the reasons disinformation can take root so easily is people think, oh, hackers are doing something to the voting system. The only thing that's ever online is the voter registration system. Several layers of security around that. The actual voting machines themselves all across the country are not on the internet. They aren't really hackable at distance, and people have never understood that, but that lack of understanding has been exploited by those who want to undermine people's confidence in our systems.
So Donald Trump just completed a 3-hour monologue, interview on Joe Rogan's podcast, reigniting his personal crusade against the 2020 election results. Like a mythological hero in his own mind, Trump continues to insist, "I didn't lose." Meanwhile, Rogan enthusiastically encouraged him, nodding along as if they were solving ancient riddles rather than revisiting disproven claims. This debate, for lack of a better word, has once again stirred up a cauldron of controversy over election fraud, judicial bias, and apparently overlooked paper ballots. Let's break down some of the highlights or lowlights of this meandering discourse. The fictional victory. What Trump said, I won by like. They say I lost by like. I didn't lose. The facts. Like a stubborn toddler after bedtime, Trump clings to his version of events. He won in the sense that he really, really wanted to win. But as any reasonable adult will tell you, wanting something doesn't make it so. Trump lost the 2020 election to Joe Biden, and that's the reality, no matter how many times he replays the 2020 reel in his mind. In the real world, repeated investigations by Trump's own officials, Republican-led panels, and independent bodies found no significant fraud. Even former Attorney General Bill Barr, not exactly a card-carrying Democrat, debunked the claims. One investigation after another produced the same outcome. Nada. Trump's loss in the 6 swing states was close, but as they say in sports, close only counts in horseshoes and hand grenades. And with more than 300,000 votes in play, no flip would put Trump back on the podium. Judges and their imaginary biases. What Trump said, judges don't want to touch it. They didn't rule on the merits. The facts. Let's play a game called Counting Trump's Losses in Court. Trump and his legal team took to courtrooms more than 60 times to challenge election results. While some cases were dismissed on technical grounds, more than half were actually heard and promptly shut down. Trump's lawyers argued their claims were valid, but time and again, they had no solid evidence to back up their words. So what really happened? It was like a game of gotcha, except the judges kept asking, where's the fraud? And Trump's team kept replying, somewhere, trust us. Spoiler, judges like evidence, not promises. When Trump's claims did reach the merits stage, judges determined those merits were, let's just say, lacking. His own team of election lawyers reviewed the cases and found they just didn't hold water. One judge aptly described their claims as vague and speculative, which is legal speak for, are you serious? The great paper ballot debate. What Trump said, we should go to paper ballots. The facts. Paper ballots. Who knew? Well, it turns out most of the U.S. has known for a while. In fact, a solid 90% of election jurisdictions in the 2020 election already used paper ballots. This has been the trend since the early 2000s, when Florida's hanging chads fiasco made everyone rethink their vote counting technology. Fast forward to 2021, and the Federal Election Assistance Commission has recommended paper for everyone, everywhere except Louisiana, which is still contemplating the paper revolution. But Trump insists he and his pal Elon Musk, because who doesn't love a billionaire endorsement, have come up with an ingenious solution to election security: paper ballots. Bold thinking. Gentlemen, next thing you know, they'll be pushing for even more radical changes, like fire as a source of heat or the mysterious power of electricity. Conclusion. Here we are, over 3 years after the 2020 election, revisiting a theater of misinformation. Yet Rogan plays along, chuckling as Trump insists he didn't lose, while America is left scratching its collective head. At this point, even a middle school history class could debunk Trump's claims with a quick Google search. The bigger question is, what's next? Will we be hearing about election fraud into 2030, as if Trump's version of reality has finally seeped into the public psyche? Or will facts finally push fantasy aside, letting us focus on the future instead of rehashing baseless conspiracies? With each repeated claim, this tale grows both more tiresome and less surprising, like a rerun of a bad sitcom. As for now, it's a series of reruns that, like it or not, many of us can't help but tune into, if only for the strange spectacle of it all.
Top House Republicans have dropped a bombshell report, a 290-page report presenting empirical evidence that President Joe Biden has engaged in conduct worthy impeachment. The finding alleged that Biden sold influence to foreign governments while serving as vice president to Barack Obama. He hid those payments through dozens of shell companies and gave Hunter Biden special treatment during federal investigation by asking the Department of Justice to look the other way. This also means that former President Barack Obama helped to cover this up because they did not want to tarnish his own presidency and have any kind of connection to Joe Biden selling out the United States of America for tens of millions of dollars. Now, as for Hunter Biden, this so-called special treatment is shocking. The DOJ reportedly blocked investigators, offered a sweetheart plea deal, and let the state of limitations expire on his most serious charges. On the top of that, President Biden has refused to release subpoenaed documents regarding his classified documents probe, raising question about the White House completely is covering up his crimes. The investigate committee did not hold back, calling the corruption they uncovered for impeachment, especially now that Biden is not running for re-election. What is Democrats actually? What Biden impeached? Hear me out of strategy of shielding Kamala Harris from the press would crumble if she becomes president too early, leading me to believe that any move against Biden would be a last minute ordeal. So don't be surprised if Biden is ousted just before election time. Handing Harris move against Biden would be last minute ordeal. So don't surprise if Biden is ousted just before election time. Handing Harris president now, if nothing else, this crooked president should be ousted and impeached so that history now. He sold out his country to enrich his family. Let me know in the comment. I know there's a mixed reviews about this, but for history to be written correctly, do you believe that the Joe Biden should be impeached for the crimes in this report, or do you think we should just let him go and let Donald Trump handle Kamala Harris and try to win the election? Let me know in the comments. Again, I have shared my opinion. I think they need American policy on behalf of Russia, Ukraine, China, Romania, and other places. And let's not forget President Trump's take